As dusk settled over the sleepy town of Hollowbrook, Mark felt a mixture of excitement and unease as he set out on a solo road trip to visit his family. He hadn't seen them in months, and the long stretch of highway ahead promised hours of solitude to reflect on life and reconnect with himself. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow that gradually transitioned into a deep indigo. Mark's grip on the steering wheel was firm, his fingers tapping to the rhythm of his favorite tunes on the radio. The monotony of the road was broken only by the occasional set of headlights approaching from the opposite direction. With each passing mile, he felt his worries fade, replaced by a sense of liberation. As he hummed along to the music, the car's radio suddenly crackled with static. Mark frowned, glancing at the display to see if he had strayed too far from a station. Oddly, the display showed nothing but a blank screen. He tapped the buttons, but the radio remained unresponsive. Confused, he tried to shake off the feeling of unease that had crept over him. He turned his attention back to the road, only to notice that the surroundings had grown eerily deserted. The other cars had vanished, and the once familiar landscape now appeared shrouded in an unfamiliar darkness. Mark's heart began to race as a sense of isolation enveloped him. He checked his phone for reception, but the signal bars remained empty. A shiver ran down his spine, and he accelerated, hoping to reach the next town soon. The road seemed to stretch on endlessly, a tunnel of shadows that swallowed the edges of his vision. An hour passed, and Mark's unease grew into full-blown anxiety. He was about to consider turning back when a figure appeared in the distance. It was a woman, her form barely visible in the dim light. Mark squinted, unsure if he was imagining things. As he drew closer, he saw that the woman's clothing was old-fashioned, as if she had stepped out of a bygone era. Her hair hung in tangles, obscuring her face. His instincts screamed at him to keep driving, but something compelled him to slow down. With a cautious glance, Mark rolled down his window, his voice trembling as he called out to her. "Hey, are you okay?" The woman turned her head, and Mark caught a glimpse of her eyes, pale, ghostly orbs that seemed to pierce through him. She spoke in hushed, urgent tones, warning him of an impending danger on the road ahead. Her words were cryptic, her gaze filled with a mixture of fear and desperation. Mark's heart pounded as he absorbed the woman's words. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was truth in her warnings. Together, they attempted to restart his car, but the engine remained stubbornly silent. The air grew still, the silence broken only by a strange whispering wind that seemed to carry distant, indistinguishable voices. The woman's grip on his arm tightened. "You must believe me," she pleaded, her voice trembling. "The road is cursed, a place where the lost souls wander." Mark's skepticism waned as the whispers grew louder, wrapping around them like a sinister cocoon. He glanced at the woman, her eyes wide with terror. He realized they were not alone on this desolate road. With a renewed sense of urgency, the woman urged Mark to flee on foot. "We have to go now," she insisted, her voice quivering. The words had barely left her lips when a low hum resonated in the distance, growing louder with each passing moment. A spectral car emerged from the shadows, its headlights casting an eerie glow. Panic seized Mark as he sprinted down the road, pursued relentlessly by the ghostly vehicle. Every time he risked a glance back, he saw the car drawing closer, its ghostly occupants leering at him with hollow eyes. The very air around him seemed to vibrate with a malevolent energy, driving him to run faster. As Mark's breath grew ragged and his legs ached from exertion, he stumbled upon an old roadside diner. Its neon sign flickered eerily, casting a pool of sickly light on the pavement. His heart pounded as he burst through the door, the bell above jingling in protest. Inside, the diner was frozen in time, a relic of the past. An ancient jukebox stood in one corner, its flickering lights casting long shadows. At the counter, an elderly waitress with tired eyes regarded him with a mix of curiosity and concern. Mark collapsed onto a bar stool, gasping for air as he tried to convey the urgency of his situation. "Please, you have to help me. There's something out there. A car, and it's chasing me." The waitress nodded solemnly, her voice carrying the weight of years. "Sit down, son. You're not the first to experience this road's curse." The waitress began to speak. She told him a tale of tragedy and despair, of a night long ago when an accident on this very highway claimed the lives of numerous travelers. Since then, their spirits had been trapped, forever wandering the road in search of release. Mark listened in rapt attention, the reality of the situation sinking in. The waitress spoke of the spirits' relentless pursuit of the living, their anguished souls forever bound to the cursed road. She explained that the only way to escape was to confront the malevolent spirits, to face their tormented souls with unwavering resolve. Armed with newfound determination, Mark left the safety of the diner and returned to the road. His heart hammered in his chest as he braced himself for the battle ahead. The wind picked up, a mournful howl that seemed to echo the spirit's pain. As the spectral car bore down on him once more, Mark summoned every ounce of courage he possessed. He locked eyes with the ghostly figures within, his voice carrying a fierce command that defied the shadows themselves. "Release me," he shouted, his words carrying the weight of his fear and determination. The highway trembled, a seismic force shaking the very foundation of the cursed road. The spirit's power wavered, weakened by Mark's relentless struggle. The ghostly car's pursuit faltered, its headlights flickering like dying embers. With a final burst of will, Mark's command shattered the chains that bound the trapped souls. A blinding light enveloped the road, a cathartic release that echoed with the cries of anguish and liberation. The ghostly car faded away, and the dark whispers that had plagued Mark for so long ceased, replaced by a profound silence. Exhausted and shaken, Mark watched as the dawn's first light